Welcome to my first episode of my brand new Let's Play series. Instead of starting at the end and looking at my village that I finished with, let's start from the beginning. Spawning next to lava, that is a spicy meatball. Let's get started. I've been talking about the new update a lot, and now let's actually play it. I'm really excited about starting a new world. I have a lot of ideas for this. Obviously for this episode I want to be trying to get as many of the new 1.20 items as possible. I'm talking about cherry logs, armor trims, bamboo blocks, sniffer eggs, and maybe even excavating some suspicious sand blocks. For the first day, you're obviously trying to grab as many resources as possible and set yourself up. I luckily found a ruin portal right away. It had some gold armor that I obviously put on. Then you gotta do the usual, break some logs to get some wood for everything, craft some wooden pickaxes, use that pickaxe to mine some stone blocks to get cobblestone, craft that into stone tools. I also found a cherry grove very close to where I started. It definitely stands out and looks great. Cherry groves are hundreds or thousands of blocks away from each other, so this was a very good spawn to start with. I mined a bunch of cherry logs, going to use it a lot for my building, grabbed some cherry saplings to grow even more trees, and as I walked around I found some pumpkins, which isn't a surprise since I spawned in a giant plains biome. Plus I grabbed some sugarcane. I was even more lucky as I found a village really close. I raided it looking for food or resources. I got a bunch of hay bales, which I was able to craft into some bread since I needed something for food. Of course, with a new world I needed some ores, and there was a ravine next to the village where I could mine some iron ore and coal. I also grabbed some copper as I plan on using it for my armor trim against the black of netherite. You need to pick a bright color against the dark, at least in my opinion. I was trying to play it safe by not going too far into the caves, but I need some iron ore and wasn't finding it in the random caves near the surface. Every cave around the village looks like a giant dripstone cave biome. This isn't really a surprise with the plains biome on the surface. This seems to limit the mobs from pathfinding towards me, making it a lot easier to fight them and not getting swarmed by them. I still only had a stone sword. I had to be cautious about dealing with the zombies. I did find a mine shaft and was looking for the minecart chest. The specific loot item I wanted was the melon seed, since this would be the best spot to find it outside the jungle biome. Pumpkins and melon stems grow faster if they are next to each other, plus I just needed more items that I can trade to the villagers for XP and emeralds. The first minecart chest I got random items like rails, food, and a mix of other items. I feel like I'm used to playing with netherite gear and rarely dying, so I might be a little more aggressive than I needed to be fighting these creepers. I did find diamond ore, but I still need a lot more of diamonds. I got another minecart chest. The only item that is different was an enchanted book of thorns. After that I left the cave and went to a different spot, a giant hole in the surface leading down to a cave system. This looks like it goes down to bedrock, or at least close to it, so I might be able to get some diamonds at the lava level. Doing this is a bit risky with unenchanted gear and the type of armor I have, but you only live once. Well, I'm not in hardcore, so I live many times. While I go down this water stream, I wanted to mention that I started a Discord channel. The link to join is in the pinned comment, my channel page, or in my description. If you want to chat Minecraft, check it out. Anyways, after that I died. D-I-E-D, dead, Raj dead. I got attacked by a bunch of mobs and couldn't get my health back up again. I'm only playing hard, so I respawned close by and just went down with no armor and was able to get my stuff back. After that I found these cobblestone blocks because I haven't been in the caves before. I knew this was a dungeon behind this wall. If you explore the caves, dungeons will connect to caves. You can't find entrances. Just looking for cobblestone and mossy cobblestone is a sign of the dungeon. This is very useful for getting XP early in the game, for enchanting and putting books on gear. I cleared out the dungeon of all the zombies, and there was quite a few, but it was easy and I lit up the dungeon to prevent any further mobs from spawning. I also found an amethyst geode, which you can tell from the smooth basalt that doesn't generate anywhere else, and the calcite that is only found here and the Stony Peaks biome. This is the kind of information you get from reading too much about different things in the game. Amethyst shards have a bunch of uses for duplicating alloys, crafting tinted glass, and now amethyst blocks can be used for wireless redstone. Definitely going to have to build a farm with a geode. During my travels, I did get a mending book and a Fortune 2 enchanted book, so I put it on a diamond pickaxe. If I can come across any diamond ores, hopefully this will get me more diamonds. I went back into the cave searching for diamonds. I think the best spot to look for diamonds is in the caves, as it exposes a lot of area that you can look at. The problem is the best diamond ore blob has a 70% chance it won't generate if exposed to air. I got to do one of my favorite things, which is pouring water over lava to look around the caves. I tried to mine some obsidian since it might be hiding some diamond ores. However, did you know that obsidian is hard to mine? Especially if you don't have efficiency on your pickaxe. I got bored of doing this and I just went looking through the caves. I did a lot of searching through the caves off screen because it was taking me so long. I did find diamond ores, but I didn't have much luck with my fortune pickaxe. However, I did eventually get enough diamonds from caving. I did also come across some slimes in the cave, which means there is a slime chunk in that spot. It's not close enough to my base for it to be used as a farm. I'm also planning on trying different farms than what I usually build. I want to build a slime farm in the swamp biome to try something a bit different. Next was to work on the village. I decided to use the village for my starter base since villagers are useful for trades. The first thing I wanted to do was my own farming as I needed food. I was really low on any food. Plus, crops can be useful for leveling up villagers and getting emeralds eventually. I removed the 2 farm plots that were already in the village. They were a mess. I harvested all the crops. It was a mix of potatoes, beetroots, carrots, and wheat. I built these terraces for each crop. Obviously, the first one was going to be for wheat as I needed it for breeding cows and sheep. I had to change the terrain, dig down, and place some blocks for each plot. The second was for potatoes. Then you gotta do some carrots, pumpkins, which was a bit tricky because of the way they grow. Also did some beet roots. I just covered every possible crop that a villager might have a trade for. This was the end result of 4 plots that sloped down in the center of my village. The villagers obviously didn't appreciate my effort and kept trampling the crops, but I also wanted the farmer villagers to take the crops to breed more villagers. Did another farming plot for sugarcane, paper and books obviously. I had to remove one of the houses as it was in the way of the animal pens I was going to build. It wasn't a big deal. I was planning on adding more houses and beds for the villagers. To cap it all off, I lured some sheep into a pen that really sounded creepy, and I needed some sheep for wool and to get some beds. Then you gotta get more cows eventually to get some leather for books, bookshelves, enchanting, etc. Next, I wanted to transform the village. This is a plains village, obviously. All of the buildings are built with cobblestone and oak. I wanted to change it using the 1.20 blocks. The one I'm thinking about the most is the cherry logs. This village is about to get very pink. I went to the cherry grove close by and did some clear cutting as I needed a lot of cherry logs. I pretty much used the same type of houses as the village already had. I used cherry logs and stripped them to get that nice cotton candy pink color. The frame of the houses was built using cherry logs. I think it has a nice balance of purple and pink. I used some cherry planks for the top and gave it a bit of depth. For the roof, I used some deep slate tile stairs that I think works. After rebuilding all of the huts, I had a ton of cows. I went on a cow side to get leather. I might have gotten carried away and killed some sheep. I think the noise was getting on my nerves. There was a little too much baaing. Here is the finished result of the village. The houses are simple. I like the bright color. It looks good with the plains biome. I also added some paths that are cobblestone, mossy cobblestone, tough, and polished andesite. I don't have a lot of blocks, which is what I had to work with. The layout makes it a lot easier to find villagers I need or just to find different things in the village. I think it is a good base to work off of and add more buildings. The one problem I had is that because it is in a giant plains biome, it spawns a lot of hostile mobs at night. It does spawn a lot of passive mobs too, however it is dangerous for my villagers as hostile mobs will spawn all around them. I built a simple 2 high block tall cobblestone wall. The point of this was to create an area where hostile mobs couldn't spawn. After I built the wall, I used some torches to light it up, the entire area inside the walls. Now it is time for Raj's Odyssey. I'm going to go out on this boat and try to get a sense of this general area. Plus I'd like to find some armor trim, get resources, find any 1.20 blocks, and find some suspicious blocks. Pretty early on I found the Badlands biome, which I was excited for because, well, terracotta. Plus they have mine shafts on the surface. I wanted to check it out to see if I could possibly get some melon seeds. I know it's kinda dumb on my part. I did find a mine chest with melon seeds. Unfortunately after this I got attacked by cave spiders. I can't believe I died trying to get melon seeds. This was a dumb death, since I was far away from my base and wouldn't be able to get my stuff back. After that I crafted an entire set of gold armor. I know it's low durability, but I didn't want to use my diamond stuff yet. I set off on the Raj's second Odyssey, this time trying to be a lot more cautious. It felt like I mostly was pointing out biomes. Here's a savanna biome and deserts next to each other, relatively close to my base also. I can grab sand. It's also in the warm biome cluster, so all of those biomes are close to my base. I found some spruce trees, so a cold biome cluster. That is a good sign, means that there's 3 of the 4, I think it's 4 biome clusters are close to my base. At least I'm not stuck in the middle of a biome. Also, I found a swamp, as I said earlier, possible slime farm spot to build. Last was the old growth birch forest. You can tell it's an old growth because the trees are taller. The old growth birch forest is definitely interesting because it's one of the spots where you can find trail ruins, and the trail ruins have a ton of different loot, especially 1.20 items, so I definitely want to investigate that area later. As I was in the boat, I ran into a few shipwrecks. All of them seemed to have their chest and no part of the boat was missing. This is a good spot to get the coast armor trim. In the first shipwreck, I got some good loot that I needed, but no 1.20 items. The second one was the same thing, nothing special, but the third shipwreck, I hit gold. Not actual gold, but armor trim. I got 2 coast armor trims. After that, I found a giant desert biome. I grabbed some cactus, it's great for XP and bone meal. I found a jungle biome with melons that was nice considering I at least died once for that. I found a jungle pyramid. I got no time for that puzzle, so I just broke into there and there wasn't any armor trim in there. At this point, I wanted to get some suspicious sand and use my brushes to excavate them. I was expecting to hit a desert pyramid somewhere in the desert. However, I kept finding desert wells, which I don't think are found that often, but they do have suspicious sand under the water. The first one kind of messed with me because I thought I got a pottery sherd, but it was just a brick. In the second desert well, I did get a pottery sherd, and the third one I got another brick. Very exciting Mojang. Back to wandering around, and I saw a camel in the desert village. I didn't have a saddle, but they look cool at least. Eventually, I found a buried desert pyramid that I almost walked past. The part I was most interested in was the buried room that you can find in the main chamber. You can spot it by looking at the sand blocks on the sandstone floor. There is a staircase leading down to this room. The room is buried with sand and suspicious sand. This is probably the spot to get the most suspicious sand and get a good chunk of pottery shards. Once I cleared out the entire buried room, I had to enter the chamber with the chest in the middle, avoiding the booby trap. There was a possible armor trim in here, but I didn't get anything interesting in the chest. Plus my inventory was full. After my Odyssey, here's all the loot I ended up with. 2 armor trims. I'm not going to duplicate them since it is too expensive to use diamonds right now. 8 pottery shards. I can craft a few decorated pots. I got some enchanted books, more ores like iron and diamonds, plus kelp, cactus, melon seeds, and bamboo. I can build some farms with this stuff. A very good haul. Now, considering I had diamonds to craft diamond gear, I had the armor trim, and I had resources to build an enchanting area, I needed XP. I went back to the dungeon I found and built a very crude XP grinder. I just made at least a 9x3x9 area. It is a bit taller than that. I put in water to make them go towards an area I could kill them. A normal XP grinder usually softens up the zombies, so you only have to hit them once. Plus, they're funneled in a way where you don't have to move. This XP grinder definitely didn't do that and used a lot of durability on my swords, but I did get above level 30 experience. And after all that, I had the diamond gear and had enough books to set up an enchanting area. I went through some of my diamond gear to enchant it. I didn't have the levels to do everything. Most of the enchantments weren't really interesting. I was mostly hoping for unbreaking to increase the durability on any of the armor. I did place my coast armor trim from the shipwreck on my diamond armor. I did choose the copper ingot, so I got copper color. It was kinda meh. It was kind of boring. I think I'm going to need to find one that's a lot flashier of an armor trim, like the silence armor trim that's found in the ancient city. The last project I'm going to be doing at the main event is my starter house. There's a cool spot at the top of the hill that overlooks the village, and I think this is a natural spot to put this. I'm going to keep the cherry log theme and use a couple of other blocks that I hope will complement the cherry logs. I need some calcite for my final project, and I went back to the amethyst geode I found earlier. Calcite is only found here and in the Stony Peaks biome, which I haven't found yet. This is a spot where you can get quite a bit of calcite if you need it for building. I mined out all of the smooth basalt, calcite, and amethyst blocks. Can't touch those budding amethyst blocks, especially if I want the amethyst shards. The next thing I needed was some terracotta. I did something I never do, and that was tame a horse. A horse was going to be easier than a boat or just by walking. It didn't take me long to find the Badlands and get some terracotta. The last thing I needed was some crimson logs. I need to go into the Nether and find a crimson forest. I set up my Nether portal and ventured into the Nether. The portal was not in a good spot. It was in the Nether waste and high above the lava sea. The only good thing is, and it's really hard to see this through the fog, but I'm very close to another fortress. I eventually had to place a cobblestone path as there was no way to get down lower into the world. This was a huge risk as I crafted all of my diamond gear, and if I died I would lose all of my diamonds. I was also trying to be careful about not accidentally hitting a zombie piglin or just avoiding any ghast at all. I did still have to kill some piglins. The enchanting definitely helped with my armor and my weapons. I did run into a basalt delta in Soul Sand Valley going one way, which meant I had to go in the opposite direction. It took me maybe 500 blocks of walking before I got to a crimson forest. I didn't want to go in and get attacked by a hoglin, so I just used my Silk Touch pickaxe to get a crimson Nalium block. After that, it was pretty easy to use bone meal to get crimson fungus and grow it into a huge crimson fungus. Once that was all done, I had all the blocks ready. Here's the frame for the starter house. I find it's helpful to plan it out ahead of time just to get a sense of the space and how you're actually going to build it. I find it hard to have an exact plan. I'm going to make adjustments as I go. First was placing the walls for the first level. I want to use white blocks like white wool, diorite, and calcite. I want to use brighter colors for this, so white works a lot more than, let's say, a gray of stone. I wanted to use brighter colors for this, so white makes sense for the first level. The second level, it was a mix of cherry logs, different crimson woods, and purple terracotta. I like the pink and purple together. I think they complement each other well. This is what I'm going for the second level. I'm trying to avoid using only one block. Well, I am using one block, but I'm trying to place it differently to create a texture. Of course, placing the deep slate tile slabs for the roof. What I'm going for is more of a shallow roof. I think if I use stairs for this, it would make it look really crazy and kind of tall. I thought I would place these bamboo mosaic blocks and bamboo planks next to each other to create a pattern similar to the glazed terracotta. I thought these would work well as walls. However, with bamboo blocks as the floor, it looked crazy, like really crazy. Instead, I made them as the floor and use stripped spruce wood as the walls for the interior. I should make this clear that this is still a work in progress. I'm going to be adding even more after this. I still want to add details, but this is the far away view. The layout of this is very straightforward. You enter and there are stairs up to the second floor and a hallway. To the right is the storage area. There is a lot of chests for storage in here. I don't currently need this much, but I still got it. On the left side, this is for the smelting room. Through this area, I'm going to be making a utility room, basically a room where I can place smithing tables, crafting tables, grindstone, and whatever other job site block I can think of. The stairs leading up to the second floor are bamboo mosaic, and there's a corridor at the top. The first room is the bedroom that has one really sad looking bed in there. The other two rooms I haven't really put anything in. I'm thinking of a brewing room and maybe something like a patio. The last room is for the enchanting room. The shape of this works well with the room. There are barrels around here all over the place, and bookshelves are enough to get level 30 enchantments. The one cool thing about this, instead of bookshelves, you can place chiseled bookshelves, which are easier to craft as you don't need books. You can place the books in and out of them. The only problem is that it won't increase the level for the enchanting table. Anyways, that was a lot of stuff for this episode, maybe a little too much, and I think I'm going to take a nap.